Hello and good afternoon. Thank you all for joining us today for the Restaurant Resiliency Program. We are so excited to have a couple guest speakers joining us today. I will have Anna introduce them to you in a few moments. In the meantime, while we wait for people to log on, just a couple housekeeping reminders. Please feel free to use the chat if you have any practices or any comments that you'd like to share with your peers. And also, if you have any questions that pertain to our presenting information, please use the Q&A box. This will help us keep track of your question and make sure that we do answer it, because we will be saving questions at the very end. Also, good afternoon, Nicole. Thank you for using the chat. And I will go ahead and pass this on to your presenter, Anna.
Hi guys, thank you so much for attending today. We have a great program set up for you. Like Laura said, this is our Restaurant Resilience series. We're doing this the first Tuesday of every month with different topics depending on what's going on in this crazy world and our industry. Today we're talking about ghost kitchens and virtual concepts. Topics today, we'll be talking quickly about the SBDC and what our counseling services offer. What are ghost kitchens, the benefit of starting in ghost kitchens, and what you do if you don't have a brick and mortar right now. My name is Anna Meinier. I'm a business analyst here at Maricopa SBDC. I work with the CARES team. I've been here since September. I focus on our restaurant, hospitality, and tourism clients. Before we start today's session, I'd like to give you just a brief overview of the services and resources available through the SBDC. The Maricopa SBDC is part of a national and state network of small business development centers. Our main offering is a no-fee counseling. Here in Maricopa County, we have approximately 17 counselors spread across the county for easy access by our clients, although now everyone is virtual, so you can access any of us at any time almost. We are working virtually at this time, and at the end of our discussion today, we'll talk about how you can request our counseling services. We also offer no or low-cost programs, such as our topic today. We also have a variety of tools available for our clients. We're able to provide these services because we are funded on the federal level by the Small Business Administration, and here locally by Maricopa County Community Colleges, and of course, partnering with the Arizona Commerce Authority. Some of our technical assistance that we cover are these topic areas. During this challenging time, we continue to assist our clients as they navigate a world of COVID. We also help our clients to identify and access lenders, offer financial reviews, marketing assessments, and much more. Business planning, all sorts of things. As I mentioned, we have counselors who are experts in a variety of areas, including manufacturing, technology, commercialization, export, and international trade. Through the Procurement Technical Assistance Centers, PTAC is what we call it, we help clients access government contracting as well. Like I mentioned, we have a bunch of tools available to our clients. You'll see here just some of them. Growth Wheel is for business development. Can be really helpful, has lots of interactive ways to look at your business. Live Plan is a business planning tool that is fantastic. If you're not using it, connect with your counselor. It's amazing. Profit Sense is for financial benchmarking data. We also can gather market intelligence through our research arm of the SBDC.net and iBiz World. I think Laura's going to do a quick poll for you guys so we can get an idea of who's with us. So our poll here is, do you currently have a kitchen location? Yes or no? Because we're going to hit on both sides of the ghost kitchen concept.
We'll just allow a few moments for you all to answer. We have quite a few people who are in attendance and just want to make sure you all have a chance to answer this. All right, just a couple more seconds. Last minute votes, get on in. We're going to go ahead and close the poll, and I'll share those results with you now, Anna.
Great. Okay, so it looks like the majority do not have a commercial kitchen now, which is fine. And one of our speakers, Jack Bell, will definitely hit on how to approach the ghost kitchen concept without having a brick and mortar space. But first, we're going to We're going to introduce our first speaker. These are two gentlemen with us today, Jack Bell and John Plew. I'm sorry. John's going to speak with us first. He's the CEO of Concept Entertainment Group, founder of the Thirsty Lion Gastropub and Grill. I'm sure you've seen or read some of the articles that John has been featured in lately on Ghost Kitchens. So at this point, I'd love to turn it over to Mr. Plew.
Oh, there. Let's see. I need to share my screen, correct?
That is correct. If you have trouble, John, just let me know. We understand technology issues can occur during Zoom meetings.
Is it there?
Yep, excellent. We see it.
Well, first of all, I just want to identify with I think there were 23 different restaurateurs or food service people here, and going through this fight, front lines, and seeing start and stops and changes and what's on the horizons. It kind of led me to do some things in innovation to fill the gaps of our business models that, like currently in Arizona, we're 50% dining room capacities, indoors and outdoors, and limited hours and things of that nature. So I feel for what you've been through and what you're going through. I would share there's some good optimism in the air, particularly we're in 4 states. We're in Scottsdale's our headquarters, Portland, Oregon, Denver, Colorado, and Dallas, Texas. So I bring hopefully a little bit of a regional influence on some of the restaurant markets and what people are doing and what we're seeing regionally. I was just telling the team here that Texas just announced they're going to 100% occupancy in 2 weeks. So that's a little bit of hope for all of us that we're gonna hopefully see some more new normal sooner than later, depending on what market you're in. So that's good. But the origin of a virtual kitchen. So we, back when, let me scroll down here. What's the difference between a virtual restaurant or a kitchen or a ghost kitchen or CloudKitchens? My vision of what a virtual restaurant is creating sub brands, restaurant brands that you can execute in your current restaurant operations and market them through third party and through online web portals for pickup and delivery, and help augment your business that you're currently doing. And so I created 6 different brands last summer with my chef and worked out a lot of the kinks on how to make that work within an existing kitchen. And then we took those 6 brands, brought 5 of them in, and then we rolled them out in all of our markets in Dallas and Denver, Portland, and now our last one is in Gilbert, which will be next week. So, some of the benefits we've seen, as you're all aware, staffing and keeping people employed is an opportunity for us right now. So what it's been able to do is augment our in-house dining, and we're seeing sales of percentage of our total top line sales anywhere from 15% to 35% of the revenue. And so it's really interesting in the way that it not only helps the staff stay busier and me be able to keep more people employed, but it's also been a way to, kind of test market these brands and create the efficiencies within our kitchens. Now, our normal square footage of our restaurants would be anywhere from 6,500 square feet to 8,000 feet, and our kitchens are usually about 2,000 feet. So we have large kitchens because our core menu, which is Thirsty Lion, is a scratch kitchen. So a lot of prep, a lot of storage room, a lot of spaces to be able to execute that size of a menu, which is in normal times about 50 menu items. We currently, with our 5 virtual brands, are up to about 140 menu items. And we're seeing some really exciting numbers when we rolled the virtual brands out. I'll just give an example. Let's say a store was doing $800 a day in to go, and maybe they're doing like, I don't know, $8,000 to $10,000 in dining. We've seen that 800 go to 3,000 to 3,500 over a short period of time, and the dining room still stayed the same number, $8,000 to $10,000, or we have some stores that are doing mid-20s and they'll do $4,000 or $5,000 a day in pickup and delivery. We did not have pickup and delivery in our restaurants prior. I had beta tested it back in 2016, and we were only doing about $3,000 to $3,500 per month. And as I just stated, we're doing anywhere from $3,000 to $8,000 a day now. So obviously that's, kind of accelerated because of the pandemic. And, a lot of people ask, well, what about when you get back to 100%? What will that yield? And that's still to be determined. So that's the origin of the virtual restaurant. This was just a story, just shows myself here and Keith Castro, my business partner, and all the different varieties of brands that we had to create. We wanted not just to create the food. You got to have the recipes, the logos, you got to register the name. You're basically opening a brand new restaurant. So I would tell you, you need to think about licensing it, in the state, and all the registration marks and everything you have to do to open these brands. You have to treat them like you're opening a brand new business, which I think, looking back at it, especially in 4 states, it's a bit complex. But so we decided really what we're doing with Central Kitchen is more of a food hall concept. So let me explain the fact that if you just have a restaurant and you're just doing pickup and delivery, that's fantastic. But if you add 5 virtual brands, it's like, how do you get them to be combined within one order? And that's what we've really figured out and been able to do through our POS system. Let's see. So I'll talk about the brands here in a second. But yeah, all these brands in one-stop shopping. We have 2 more that are in the works. But so Thirsty Lion is our core restaurant. We have 4 of them here in the Valley. We had 5. Unfortunately, we had to close 1 at Scottsdale Fashion. Post-COVID, it just, we had a tough time with the sales over there. So we still have 4 here in the Valley. And it's a globally inspired scratch kitchen menu. We've been in Arizona now for 9 years, started out in Tempe. And we just recently moved our headquarters here from Portland, Oregon. So we're really excited about that. Soy Joy is an international cuisine, which includes Chinese, Korean, Japanese, Thai, and such favorites such as rice bowls, sushi, ramen, and more. Keller Wings is our wing concept. We have bone-in and boneless wings with a variety of sauces and sides. Tortilla Sunrise is one we haven't launched in our Thirsty Lions yet. We have it in our Central Kitchen, which is our test kitchen in Portland, Oregon. And it's more modern Latino street fare with tacos and burritos and nachos and rice bowls. Southern Jewels, our Southern comfort food concept, and comes with a variety of fried chicken, hot spicy Nashville chicken, fried pickles, hush puppies, and a lot of other Southern specialties. The BYO burger is only right now in the Central Kitchen in Portland. It's a customizable build your own burger, fries, tots, onion rings. It's really fun. And then Pizza and Spice is a large selection of gourmet specialty pizza, appetizers, and salads. So what we've done is right now, if you want to order something just from Soy Joy, you could, but we really try to get people to go to Central Kitchen because Anna might want something from Soy Joy, Jack might want some Southern chicken, and Laura might want, some street tacos, and I might want fish tacos from Thirsty Lion, and they can all order from each one of those brands and have it put in one single bag and pay for it in one single payment or delivered all together with all those cuisines. So that's where we've seen the most excitement, is the true integration from the consumer standpoint with I would say the diversity of people's palates in today's world. Is that a family of 4 or 5 or 6, or call it a party for 4 or 5 or 6, is you can order all these different types of cuisines and have it delivered or picked up in one central spot with one central payment. So when it comes to that, it's really IT heavy, and there's a lot to work through. So our POS is Toast, which is a cloud-based system. And there's kind of several potential methods of ordering. You can do direct phone call, you can do third-party online platforms, online ordering system, or you can use Toast, which has its own mobile app. And of course, most of us are now using third-party Grubhub, Uber Eats, DoorDash, Postmates. You can order through that as well. And this kind of shows you how the integration works. So the people can order from their phone or on their laptop or computer at home. And it goes through a centralized, I call it a funnel. It's a system called Chowly. And it takes every one of the third-party delivery and all of our websites, plus all of our brands, and puts them together, and it silos them into our POS. So in our kitchens, we have 7 different KDS screens behind the line. So the saute, the broiler, the fryer, the expo, pantry, and appetizers. And it separates all of the different orders for those separate stations based on the brand. So if I'm working saute and something comes in from Soy Joy, all I'm seeing is saute items, and I'm just making whatever that saute dish. It might be a pasta dish from Thirsty Lion, or it might be a Kung Pao chicken from Soy Joy. And then when we reassemble everything, it goes back to a central spot where the expo then can see the integration. Is this a to-go order, or is this an in-house order? And I think that's one of the things that's been the biggest learning curve, is how do you most of our restaurants would be 250 seats inside with 120 seats outside, and they're pretty high volume. So once you're already full on a Friday or Saturday night with 50% capacity, how much can you still effectively do combining the in-house dining and the third party and pickup and delivery? And what's been nice for us is it's helped us bridge the fact that we're starting to hit 100% of sales of the prior year, because we did something different and worked really hard to bring these brands to life and come to a realization. And we're 3 months into this in 4 states, so it's a little early to know where it's going to ultimately go. But then once it comes through and it gets all set up, obviously then we bag it, we put it on food warming stations, so the bag can stay warm. And then the Uber drivers and all the delivery folks come in and pick it up right from the front door, or if they're picking up as a guest, we bring it to them. And one of the things we've also found with an established restaurant brand of 9 or 10 years here in the Valley now, is there's a trust level, I think, that comes with, we have a pretty big customer base that trusts Thirsty Lion, so they trust us with creating Asian fare. They trust us with some of these other brands. And I think that's helped expedite the time, because we market to our existing customers. Because if, let's say, they don't want to go to Thirsty Lion on Thursday night and they want Asian food at home, well, they know that they can still order it from third party or pick it up, and they trust the cuisine is going to be handled with the same quality and sense. This goes through a little more in detail of the operational integration. Kind of what I showed here were our brands, pushing it through to the third party or web services through Chowly, into the phone, onto the POS. There shows a KDS screen, then the bagger, and then to the delivery party. And so that's really kind of the full circle of how it works. And then here's some of the benefits that we've seen of the POS integration. It reduces the need for tablets with Chowly. So if you guys have tablets out there and that you have to sit there and place an order, and then you got to place it, it comes in, you have to put it in the system. So Chowly eliminates that. And there's a lot of errors made when somebody's just sitting there and putting in orders all the time. And again, our servers and our bartenders, we do team service. So as they're working the tables, we have handheld devices that they're putting in orders live at the same time as third parties coming in, as well as web orders are coming in from the 5 additional brands. It reduces the order entry error by, you just wouldn't believe how much it reduces it. It's not perfect, but it's usually user error more than it is our end error if they did something, and we'll correct if it's not right. But if they forgot to do some sort of modifier or something of that nature. It helped to decrease the labor cost. And actually, some of our servers, like let's say they work 4 days a week, they'll work 2 days a week as a server, and then they'll work 2 days a week as a delivery person. And at first, a lot of people were concerned they weren't going to make the tips, where people are tipping out quite handsomely to the pickup side of the business. Now, we're not able to share in the delivery tip outs, which, we'll see if in the future we're going to do our own delivery or what we're going to do with that. We're not sure, but it has helped us decrease the labor costs because we already have the labor there. We're not having to bring much more labor in, and it helps keep this, really the retention of the labor, particularly right now where it's been tough. We've lost a lot of employees that don't want to come back, and there's some other reasons why people aren't coming back as fast as well. And then of course increases revenue potential. And it's still to be determined, like I said, how long it takes to ramp these things up, but we're very optimistic on what it's been able to do based on just a 3-month window of the different virtual brands and the integration. And of course, I would tell you that when you come in and tell a team that you're bringing 5 new concepts, you have to manage this, you got to bag it, you got to have it integrated and do it while you're opening a restaurant. There's a lot of fear. And at first they were just like, what are you thinking? I'm like, hey, just hold on. We got this figured out. Let us get it integrated. Now, if I can pick up additional sales of a couple $1,000s a day times 30 days, and it's $60,000 in revenue, and that restaurant was only doing, let's say, call it $200,000. Now they're doing 260. The rent's already paid. The kitchen equipment's already paid. The labor's already paid. The product's high. Yes, it's not as profitable because you're sharing in the third party, but you're not washing dishes and you're not, having breakage and things of that nature. So it's still a little early to tell, exactly how profitable it is, but it definitely has helped our bottom line. So that's what I have to present. This is just a picture just to kind of show the variety of the items that somebody could order. And that's what we've done with Central Kitchen and Thirsty Lion.
Very cool, John. Thank you so much for sharing. I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to Anna. Let's make sure she can get back online here and share her screen.
I'm back.
All righty. Excellent.
All right. Thank you so much, John. It's really amazing to hear from someone who's actually doing this and in such a large scale. So I know people are going to have questions like Laura had mentioned. Please hold those. Well, you can put them in the Q&A, but we'll go ahead and answer those at the end. So any questions you have for John, go ahead and put those in the Q&A. Now I'd like to introduce our next speaker, Jack Bell. He's the Partnerships Director with CloudKitchens. He'll be able to talk to you, if you don't already have a location, on how CloudKitchens can help you launch your own ghost kitchen. So I'll stop sharing and turn it over to Jack.
All right, awesome. Thanks so much, Anna. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me, guys. I am excited to be here and to chat with you guys about, what we're doing at CloudKitchens and really what the ghost kitchen market looks like for, restaurant owners or people who are interested in getting into the restaurant business that for whatever reason just may not be able to take over a brick and mortar, right? We'll talk about what that looks like. In general, with CloudKitchens, we've been around since about 2016. We launched our first facility in 2017 in Los Angeles, and pretty much what you can think of with us is just big warehouses that we've built individual kitchens inside of. And, to be honest, we're going to talk a lot about some of the difficulties that come with opening up a brick and mortar. But I do like to say every time that this isn't supposed to be a knock on, the brick and mortar world. I think we all miss going to restaurants. I know I do. I can't wait till they come back. But what's happened over the last 12 months is there's been a new revenue or a new avenue for people to take that want to be able to launch a food business. Either want to just do delivery. They don't want to take on a lot of the other things that come along with the brick and mortar. And those are a lot of the people that we've been able to help get their business off the ground. Right. And I think why it makes sense to invest in a cloud kitchen. If you want to understand that, you really kind of have to understand some of the other options that are out there and some of the difficulties with that. So, the first thing that I start with is challenges with opening up a traditional brick and mortar. And I think, I'm sure a lot of this stuff isn't going to be new to you guys, but the first thing is just the cost that it takes to do so. Now, obviously here on the screen, it says, it can cost $1 million and up to open up a brick and mortar. And that definitely is the case in a lot of different markets. That being said, maybe it's not going to be $1 million, but with equipment, with interior build out, with, the massive cost to even get the location, the costs are going to be at least in the six figures, probably more in the $200,000 to $300,000, $400,000 range on up. And, I don't know about you guys, but I personally don't have the funds to make that happen. And, with the way that the economy has been going over the last 12 months, people aren't as quick to give out loans, things like that. And in general, it's just one of the reasons why it's so difficult to make it in the restaurant industry, is because you're fighting out as such a whole because of the amount of cost it takes to start that up. Now, at the same time, outside of the monetary value that it takes, the investment in terms of time and sacrifice and responsibility is large, to say the least. Typically, it's going to be at least 12 months, sometimes 18. And, with the permitting and the licensing issues that can go on in some of these things, it can take a lot more time than that. And as a result, again, as permitting and licensing starts to build up, costs continue to increase, and it just becomes more and more difficult to be profitable in your first year, 2 years, 3 years, which is, a lot of times when restaurants either make it or they don't. So again, not only is it going to cost a lot of money, it's going to take a lot of time that a lot of us don't have. And then thirdly, when it comes to the restaurant industry in general, it's a low profit margin business. I think it's a good thing. I think we're all probably happy that minimum wage is starting to increase. But as minimum wage increases, if you want a large space, what a lot of people do, you're only going to need more staffing as a result. And then if you want a location that's going to be, desirable, everything that we just talked about is going to take on even more costs, even more time, so on and so forth. So for most people, this just isn't a really feasible investment. And especially if you're, invested in other things, if you have a different job, if you have anything going on in your life where you don't have the capability to set things aside and really focus on building out a restaurant for a year or 2 years, it's just not necessarily something that is an option for a lot of people. Now, that being said, this has been traditionally the only option for a lot of people in the restaurant industry, right? And so, I talk to people every day that have dreams of opening up a food business, but with everything that we just talked about, with as difficult as it can be to open up a brick and mortar, those dreams were really never going to become a reality. Right. And unfortunately, there weren't a lot of other avenues for people to take to start a food business and to get it off the ground. But, over the last 12 months, over the last few years, with the rise of delivery, that has become an option. However, if you wanted to open up a brick and mortar and with delivery, right, it brought on an entirely new set of challenges. So, if you look at the delivery market, one couple things to note. Obviously, over the last 12 months, delivery has accelerated in the demand for it as a result of people just not wanting to leave their homes, not even wanting to go grocery shopping, right? Doing anything they can to minimize their contact with other people. But at the same time, people still need to eat. So obviously delivery has really taken off, but as I mentioned, we started in 2016 and we recognized that the rest of the world was way ahead of us in the delivery market. So it was a big market then. Even John had mentioned he beta tested delivery back in 2016 and we knew it was coming. However, we didn't necessarily think that the demand was going to be, within 2 to 3 years. We thought, as you can see here, it being more of a 10-year plan. However, this source here is from Morgan Stanley in June of 2016. So in all reality, as big as that $490 billion mark really seems, it's actually 2 to 3x since the pandemic started. And as a result, there have been other options, right? But if you're running a brick and mortar, or if you think about maybe that's an option for you, you do have to understand, as John was just talking about, that it's difficult enough to run it without you really doing delivery. But when you add in delivery, a lot of brick and mortars were struggling with how to make that transition happen, right? And so there's a few different reasons why. We talk about a few right here. I have a few listed, right? So the first things first, operationally, it was a mess. When delivery really started to take off, as you can see in that top picture there, you started to have just drivers lined up inside of a brick and mortar and disrupting the experience that their dine-in customers were having. I know I had been impacted by it. I saw it at different restaurants and stuff, and owners are really struggling as to what to do because they didn't necessarily have other places for these drivers to go, right? Not to mention the fact that if you look here in the middle, the inefficiency with this, we all know that food quality is the most important thing when it comes to food delivery. But when people are wasting time looking for parking, they don't really have, all of a sudden the delivery orders are getting pushed back because dining customers are taking priority here. And just the pickup experience in general for these different delivery drivers and couriers wasn't very smooth. All of a sudden, you had to start waiting longer and longer before your food got to you, which again is just going to impact your enjoyment of the food. It's going to impact whether or not you continue to order from that restaurant or not, right? And so as a restaurant owner, you weren't really sure what to do to come up with a solution to these issues. And then the last thing here is probably going to be one of the bigger ones in terms of why it was so difficult. We know that, with the different delivery apps, Uber Eats, Postmates, Grubhub, DoorDash, they take fairly hefty commission percentages, usually about 30 to 35% across the board is industry standard. And we talked about the fact that restaurants are already a slim margin business. It's difficult to break even when you've put so much money up front. There's a lot of different operating expenses, and they're definitely not set up to take on an additional 25 to 30%, hitting your revenue stream, which is going to leave you with even less profitability than you started with. Right. So, operationally, that was definitely one of the issues. And then from a software point of view, and this actually kind of touches on what John was just talking about, the ability to integrate that. It was broken, right? So you're seeing here this photo, and John had touched on it. He uses a way to essentially use one tablet in his restaurants. This is what you could find a lot of times at brick and mortars. You have 5, 6 tablets, all set up behind the counter and in the kitchen. And what this looks like is they're all receiving different orders at the same time from the different platforms, right? So it looks like a nightmare. It seems difficult to organize, and it definitely is. But there were some operational things in terms of data that you are missing here as well, right? So none of these different softwares were integrating with each other. So you couldn't really tell how many orders you were getting from one software to the other. You couldn't compare and contrast. A lot of the different things to help your restaurant be more successful were getting lost because there was no ability to integrate all this stuff, right? So in general, it was just a very difficult thing for restaurant owners to try and transition into. They didn't know how to operate it inside their restaurant. Software-wise, they were losing a lot of data, and unfortunately, but the delivery market was continuing to grow. So people were just left with the issue of, how do I find ways to do delivery better? How do I find ways to do it at a lower cost? How do I find ways operationally to be more efficient, right? And so that's really where Ghost Kitchens were kind of born. So John touched on Ghost Kitchens, and Ghost Kitchens can come in many forms. Ghost Kitchens can come in a brick and mortar kitchen, realistically. Here I took this definition from Wikipedia, a professional food preparation and cooking facility set up for delivery only meals. Now, again, that can take place in a brick and mortar. You can take on the virtual concepts that John was talking about. A ghost kitchen does not necessarily have to be its own individual space. And there's a lot of people out there in the industry, if you guys are interested in this, that are offering this. It's something that different businesses are trying to get into a lot more and a lot more often, because so many people are turning to trying to find ways to cut costs on delivery and do it a little bit better. But for us, I'm just going to talk about what we do at Cloud Kitchens to try and help set you guys up for success. And I mean, it's going to be similar to what everybody else does, but just kind of to set the stage. This isn't necessarily going to be what everybody does, but to give you guys a little bit of understanding of like what a ghost kitchen looks like, and from our point of view and what it can do to help you guys out, this is kind of what you can expect, right? So we try to address the issues that I just talked about in general. And you can kind of see here how we compare to a traditional restaurant, and really it's all broken down, you know, why a cloud kitchen versus a brick and mortar comes down to a lot of these different metrics here. So what in general, what we're trying to do is widen out the margins for you guys when it comes to space, staffing, things like that. So not every single restaurant's going to have 3,500 square feet, but typically, you know, 1,500, 2,000, 3,500 square feet on up. And so for us, you're going to have about a 200 square foot space. That's how big our kitchens are in general. They come with some basic equipment. So it's going to be a full sink setup, 3-comp hand wash and prep. And then it's going to come with a 9-foot hood and then fire suppression system with the hood, gas lines and electricity built in underneath. So in that sense, it's built for a plug and play model. We allow everybody to come in and customize the space. So you really feel like you have some ownership over that space. The second thing is when it comes to, again, trying to minimize the overhead that you guys have, your employee count gets cut in half and a lot of times more so. You know, not all the time you're going to have a 20-person staff. I'm sure John probably has a lot more than 20 people on his staff, but in our kitchens, you're going to need 3 to 4 to 5 people max. And a lot of times I've seen people run it with even 2 people, husband and a wife, business partner, 2 chefs, right? Come in and just have a lot of enthusiasm. And it's definitely hard work. They're there a lot, but it's worth it when you're able to end up seeing a lot more profitability because you only have a couple people on staff. When it comes to the upfront investment for new locations, you know, we've already talked about the traditional restaurant. With us, it's going to vary from facility to facility. You know, we do have 40 facilities spread out across about 25 different markets right now. But it's going to be a fraction of what you guys would have to take on, you know, across some of the other markets that you guys could enter into, or some of the other options. To give you guys an idea, in our Phoenix and our Tempe facility, you know, it's going to be below $10,000 in terms of security deposits. And that's really going to be the major upfront cost with us. You know, you guys will have to bring your own equipment, but again, a lot of people want to have their own equipment in there, you know, in case you guys ever end up leaving the space, having some ownership, like I said, but again, a fraction of what you would take on in some of the other options. And then when it comes to growing, you know, it's only going to take us about 4 weeks to get you guys up and going. For example, for us, we help you guys set up everything with the health department. So we have a kitchen design team that'll help you come up with the specs for the space. We'll actually put together the schematic drawings for the space. We'll submit that to the health department. We'll take care of that in about 3 weeks. So a lot of the administration and or administrative duties that you guys would have to take on that not a lot of people like dealing with, like the health department, we will go ahead and help set that up for you guys so that you guys can really continue to just focus on the food. And then the other thing is with delivery times. You know, I don't think it's any secret. If you don't have a lot of loyalty to one of the different options you're looking at on an Uber Eats or a Postmates, and there's similar cuisine types, similar reviews, if one of them is going to take 55 minutes and the other one's going to take 35 minutes to get to you, a lot of times people will go with the option that's going to get to them quicker. And for us, we pride ourselves operationally on having a 25-minute delivery time, 25 to 35 minutes. One of the reasons is a lot of drivers will actually just stay at our hubs because they know orders are going to continue coming in and coming out. So food's not really waiting up at the front very long, and it's a pretty quick process in general. Second thing we're going to look at in terms of like how we set you guys up in terms of foundationally, what we know is important to be successful with ghost kitchens is location. So like I mentioned, there's a lot of other people out there that are doing what we're doing. There's multiple companies. They all do a great job. One of the differences with us is that we actually buy the property because when we were doing our research, we recognized that people don't necessarily want to get in or want to partner with people that there's layers to who's actually owning the building and who they're getting into business with. So we buy the facility. And the first things first is we buy it in an area that we know has a really high demand for food delivery. So on the right side here, you're actually seeing a map with kind of this outline here. And this is our delivery radius for our Phoenix location. So at every single restaurant that's using Uber Eats, Postmates, Grubhub, DoorDash, one of the common questions I get is, well, you know, how far away can people order my food? Or what about food quality? Like, I don't want my food sitting in traffic all the time. So these delivery apps actually do go to lengths to help preserve some of the food quality. So essentially, if I am a 30-minute drive away from a restaurant, I will not be able to order food from them. The general delivery radius is going to be about a 15 to 20-minute drive time from wherever you're ordering from. So we will go ahead, do a bunch of research on all the properties that we're looking at in a given area. And we make sure through our research and through software that we have throughout that people within the delivery radius we're going to buy a facility at are ordering food. Because we all know, and realistically, you can have the best food in the world, but if you want to capitalize on people ordering food and doing delivery, you could have the best food in the world, but if nobody's ordering food in that area, you're going to put a ceiling on the business. So for us, that's the first thing that we want to do, is make sure we're plugging our operators into an area where they can be successful and where there's going to be some built-in customer demand. The second thing is in terms of like issues that we help fix that some of the different traditional restaurants are facing, or people that are working with delivery apps, you know, even in a food truck, is the software that we've developed. So similar to what John was talking about with Charlie and how it integrates and everything like that, we have our own software that we have developed. So as opposed to seeing something like this with all these different tablets here, we have one tablet in our kitchens and it runs on a software that we have developed. This software will be connected to every single platform that is out there. So it's going to be Uber Eats, Postmates, Grubhub, DoorDash, whichever delivery system you really want to use, we're going to be able to integrate with. So as opposed to having 5 screens all accepting orders during a busy hour like 7 p.m., which can, as John talked about, produce order error, for us, all orders are going to come into one really easy to use screen. And as he mentioned, I don't necessarily have a specific stat, but you would not believe the way that that allows the chefs to improve or decrease order error and make sure that they're getting the orders right. When they're coming on 5 screens and you've got maybe 2 orders coming at the same time on all screens, it's understandable how people can get something mixed up. And for us, that's something that we want to help solve for you guys. So every order is going to come into one screen and every single kitchen is equipped with this software. The next thing here is just kind of a general overview at how we help minimize costs and maximize revenue, as you can see. All right. So, when it comes to minimizing costs, labor, overhead, and cost of goods, as a result, 2 to 3 people because of the 200 square foot space, right? You're saving a lot on insurance and staffing costs right there. The overhead with a 2,500 to 3,500 square foot space on up at a brick and mortar is going to be, it's going to make it really difficult for you to be profitable. So in a 200 square foot space, you're decreasing what you're paying for gas, water, electricity, and you're leaving more room for profitability. And then the last thing is, through something like our software, you're actually able to coordinate and see how many orders am I getting from this platform? How many orders am I getting from that platform? What time are all of my orders coming in? What's my most popular menu item? Things like that. Not to mention the fact you can actually see how long it takes you to make each item, how long it takes for somebody to go back and get the food and bring it up to the front. Things like that, that will help decrease, the food waste, help minimize food costs, that you can actually spend more time buying food that is making you the most money, that people are ordering the most. But B, it's going to help decrease your essentially your setup time, your order time. If you can actually see that one menu item is taking you 5 to 10 minutes to make, as opposed to these others are only taking you 2 to 3, you can take a look at why those orders are taking longer. And by able to decrease that cooking time, you're able to get that food to the customer faster. So it's just a level of efficiency, as well as the ability to minimize costs. And then when it comes to maximizing the revenue, right, there's this is kind of the secret sauce to how to be successful in a cloud kitchen. First things first, you have the ability to be on every single delivery platform. So utilize them all, or do some research on which ones are the most popular in your area, so that you can really get to the most customer base that you possibly can. These next two are going to be some of the most important ones, right? So when it comes to digital presence, this is going to be the most difficult part about running a cloud kitchen, is how do you get your name out there? You know, how are people going to find my menus? Things like that. There's a couple different ways, but it does take some hands-on marketing strategy. When it comes to the promote, or like in the apps, in the delivery apps, if you go onto Postmates, Uber Eats, Grubhub, it doesn't matter what it is, you will see pages on the homepage that say daily deals, things like that. So running promotions in the apps is a really easy way to give your menu some visibility. $5 off orders are $15 or more. You know, $10 off orders are $25 or more. Free delivery for a certain night. Right? Anything like that, so that your menus can be profiled or highlighted in these different delivery apps is key. And then also anything on top of that is just kind of going to be icing on the cake, and it will help you, but it's not necessarily, it's not required. But having your own Instagram page, doing any sort of social media marketing, finding ways to get your brand out there, because you know you're not going to have a storefront. They are going to exist digitally, and that comes with a different set of marketing strategies. So for us, we will help you with that. We can share best practices on that. We do develop Instagram pages for all of our different facilities. It's something that we want to get better at. But in general, if you're going to work with us or any other ghost kitchen concept, that's going to be one of the things that you want to really nail down, is how you're going to go about your digital marketing strategy. And then the last thing here is going to be something called multiple brands, which is essentially what John just talked about. The ability to, in a brick and mortar, augment what you're doing inside the restaurant, with brands that aren't necessarily on your typical menu if somebody were to come in and sit down. So the gist here is, because all of these menus are existing digitally, nobody's actually coming out of their way to come down to the restaurant and be dependent upon what's on the menu. So you have the ability to run multiple menus at the same time. For example, when you go on to Postmates, say there's 100 menus on that homepage. If 4 of them can be yours as opposed to 1, well, you just 4x your chance that somebody's going to click on a menu that's coming to you. Now, at the same time, I talk to chefs all the time that have a really diverse culinary skill set. You know, they like to be able to cook a lot of different things. One of the things that we know can hurt people is having a 40 to 50 item long menu on these different delivery apps. Items end up getting lost, and people end up really going to a specific menu for 1 or 2 different things, as opposed to really looking through everything. Right. So say you have 35, 40 menu items on your menu. The ability to segment that out, now have 3 or 4 menus out there. Again, 4x is your chance somebody's clicking on a menu that's coming to you. Then you build out those menus with photos, really enticing descriptions, things that are going to want to make people actually buy your food. Now you're giving yourself a really, really great chance to be successful. Now you have 4 different delivery platforms running 4 different menus all at the same time. You've got 16 chances for somebody to pick on something that's going to bring you money and for you to be able to make food to. That's not something that's ever been, a possibility in the restaurant industry, which is why revenue-wise in these cloud kitchens, people are seeing things that they couldn't have seen in a brick and mortar, or they didn't necessarily know were possible, right? And then the last thing about the multiple brands concept and about the software that we have, if you guys wanted to open up your own food business, and you wanted to use Uber Eats, Postmates, Grubhub, everything like that, they would each send you a tablet like you saw in the previous photos. However, these tablets are only set up to be connected to one menu typically. So it actually just completely kills your ability to run multiple brands. For us, our software will have all of your menus on all platforms coming into one screen. So it allows you to run multiple brands and allows your profitability to reach margins that, it couldn't have reached elsewhere, without the software being able to help you run all that and organize that order receival process. So, in general, in closing, this is kind of how we look at how to run a successful food business with us. You run multiple concepts in one kitchen. When those multiple concepts are running operationally well, when they're getting to people well, you're going to produce a better customer experience, which is going to produce better reviews. Now you've got, for example, 16 menus out there, all with great reviews. That's going to help you guys perform better on the apps. They're going to want to rank you higher because you're getting better reviews, because you're providing a great customer experience. That's just going to continue to up your order revenue or your order volume. And then in general, right, in turn, what that's going to turn into is a higher profit margin. So, I mean, that was pretty much everything that I wanted to go over, guys. You can see my contact info there. If anybody has any interest in wanting to chat about our Phoenix or our Tempe facilities, of course, I'm happy to chat. Or if you guys want to just have more questions about what it's like to get into this side of the business, I'm more than willing to speak with anybody. But that was pretty much all I had again. And thank you guys so much for listening.
Great, thank you so much, Jack. And again, just a reminder, if you have any questions for either John or Jack, please feel free to put them in the Q&A. I don't currently at this time see any open questions for either John or Jack. But again, please feel free to put those in the Q&A, and I will hand this over again to Anna.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much. Great information on both perspectives. I have a couple questions. One was, John, how did you decide on 6 concepts, and then what made you decide on those concepts?
Yeah, so I mean, really tracking what was selling, particularly early on in the pandemic. We saw wings blowing up everywhere. It wasn't that difficult to be able to add wings to our concepts because we had the proper equipment. Travels well, packages well, stays hot well, easy to reheat. Pizza was the other one. We actually had not had pizza for about a year. And then as soon as COVID hit, we're like, well, we got all of our pizza ovens. Let's fire the pizza ovens back up. And so all of a sudden we're doing pizzas again. So those were a couple of the front runners, but yeah, we went after those. And then we had enough of the Asian influence and Latino influences to really broaden what we already had.
Perfect, thank you.
And really quick, Anna, if you could switch back to your other view. We see your presenter view now, but I also got another question for John. How did you track the sales of what was selling well before adding it to your menu?
Through our POS, we pretty much have a daily tracking of what items are selling for lunch, dinner, things of that nature.
I have a question for Jack. Jack, have you seen, concepts that don't work? I mean, do you have anything that you'd say is maybe not the best thing to do for a ghost kitchen?
In terms of cuisine type?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not necessarily, to be honest. We have seen just about every single type of food, work. A lot of it comes down to how you want to build your brand, how you want to market it and position yourself, and what kind of customer base you guys want to tap into. Again, that goes back to that digital strategy is how are you going to get your name out there? Again, you don't have a storefront, and so that's definitely one of the tougher parts. But at the same time, with a strong hold on how you're going to go about marketing your business, we've seen every single type of food work. Now that being said, if I'm going to open up a burger joint and nobody around me's ordering burgers and nobody likes burgers, then you could see a ceiling there. But no, I don't think that there's anything that just like flat out doesn't work.
Awesome, thank you. I'm looking here in the chat. Let's see, we have a question here. Jack, if I have my own location, would I be able to use that with your system integrating all delivery services? So I guess is that only available in CloudKitchens? It's
not, no. It's called Otter. They're a separate arm of our business. So they're essentially their own thing. It kind of all falls under our parent company, but no, that's something that brick and mortars can use as well, or, food trucks, no matter what it is. If you have your own location, Lorenzo, you'd be able to use it.
Awesome. Do you want to maybe share that link in the chat? And I also had a request for your contact information, Jack, or actually John, someone would like your contact information. If you are willing to share that, you can do that privately or in the chat.
Okay.
We did get another question for John as well. Will your kitchen have the capacity to keep up with all these concepts if or when your primary concept returns to its historic sales?
That's still to be determined. But I would tell you, we're quickly getting back to the historic sales, and it's really working. So I think what we'll do, to Jack's point, is we will shrink some of the lower lying fruit So if we had a brand that had 15 items, it might go to 10, or even the Thirsty Lion core menu that would be normally 50 menu items, we might trim that down just for the pickup and delivery so that we can keep the integration. And we've learned what travels well and and what doesn't travel so well. So yeah, we're optimistic that we can keep it. And again, our average, let's just say $5 million sales in a store. And if you're doing 30% to go business, that's a big number. Well, we don't think when we get back to 100, we're going to stay at 30%. We probably think we're going to somewhere between 5 and 10%. But still, if you can do 10% and you were doing 5 million before, and you can do 500,000 on top of your 5 million, all your costs are still baked in, and you just grew revenue without any more investment. And that's what we're hopefully optimistic about. And we are looking at some stuff with Jack, actually. I think it's a great way for us, that's a regional brand, and maybe go test a hard market like San Francisco to get into. And maybe you can go test, we can test like all the central kitchen brands in there, or we could just go test a Thirsty Lion and before you even go to a market. So I think it's kind of compelling to look at some of the other ways to use both platforms.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Jack. Sorry about that.
No, for sure. I was gonna say, I mean, like, I spoke more from a startup perspective, in terms of if you don't have a brick and mortar, there's a lot of different ways to utilize ghost kitchens. So for somebody that does have a brick and mortar, if anybody in here, has a location already, and you guys are open to or want to tap into a new delivery market, open yourself up to a new revenue channel, at a fraction of the cost and time. That's also where what we do makes a lot of sense. And then I think, Nicole, you had asked a question, about ghost kitchens versus commissary kitchens. So a commissary, typically is going to be more of a space where people are renting it by the hour or by the day, something like that. Whereas with us, you're going to have it for, periods of 6 or 12 months. The space is going to be entirely your own. You're not going to be sharing that with anybody. You're not going to be shoulder to shoulder. But it's more of a full-time gig, as opposed to where the commissary, you can kind of use as on an as-need basis.
I do have a couple other questions regarding both the Cloud Kitchen, so one for Jack and one for John. We'll start with the one for John, because it asks about what was your training transition strategy? So how did you go from one concept to the other as far as training?
It was tough. I'm fortunate I have a training team, but it's not that easy, because the other thing I forgot to talk about, I don't know, Jack, about your guys' software and how it times the cooking time. So all of our menu items, I have all my recipes, they're all video and they're all bilingual, and then they all have cooking time. So if a Gastropub burger takes 8 minutes and an ahi salad takes 4 minutes, and the burgers coming out of the burger station, the broiler, it will fire the burger at 8 minutes, and it won't even pop up the ahi salad in the pantry until it hits the 4-minute mark. And that's part of the back of the house integration. But you have to go through and time all of your items, and you have to have all those for recipes that have the timing so that the food comes up at the same time. But the training was difficult, because we're learning just like everybody else. It's kind of learn by fire. And so it's neat, like with Jack's company, and I think there's more resources today than there was a year ago on how to do some of these things, and versus just kind of learning on the fly.
Yeah, for us, I don't necessarily think that we have something that will, I guess, segment out like how long different items within an order are going to take. We are more, I guess we probably do, but the general gist would just be we're timing how long a specific order in general is going to take. John with the 2,000 square foot space and multiple people all kind of involved in the cooking process, I think that's a little bit more, imperative for you or useful for you. Yeah, again, like you said, it's not an easy thing to get accustomed to sometimes.
And I know we only have about 1 minute left, but someone was curious if they've never had any restaurant experience, Jack, how easy would it be for them to will it be easy for them to start up a ghost kitchen?
Yeah, I can answer both this question and the next one here pretty quickly. Short answer is no, it's not going to be easy. And that can be a common misconception. It's going to come with its own set of difficulties. Yes, it's going to cost a fraction of the money that it would to open up a brick and mortar. Yes, it's going to, administrative wise, it's going to be a lot less responsibility on your part. You're going to be able to focus on the food. But that being said, digital marketing strategies and things like that, ways to reduce order volume, again, brings its own set of challenges. So I think one of the common misconceptions can be is that it's going to be easy to do what we do because it's so much easier to get going. But running the business on a day-to-day basis, organizing deliveries, things like that, coming up with your menu, looking at a P&L, all that stuff is still things that you guys need to take into consideration. And everybody does, when getting involved in this. And then secondly, for whoever just asked about like, where can you get more info? I am more than happy. My contact info is right there. I'm more than happy to set up some time to chat with you. I can give you some more info on what the business is like. You can also just go to cloudkitchens.com and there's some more info there as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We are kind of running out of time. So if you have further questions for our amazing speakers, you can let me know. There's their contact information in the chat as well. So I'm going to quickly talk about a couple things coming up here at the SBDC. Jack was talking about the digital marketing. We have, ironically, our next restaurant series on April 6th will be on digital marketing for your business. So it's going to be a great kind of carryover from this event here. Some other things we have coming up is the Great Marketing Turnaround Workshop is on the 4th. There's an email marketing event tomorrow, 2 o'clock, and then how to organize your business, or optimize your business, I'm sorry, at 2 o'clock on March 10th. We have intellectual property coming up, small business payroll, buying a business, which sounds like some of you might be moving towards, and then getting ready to file your taxes for 2020. And then how to leverage America's seed fund. So all kinds of topics for you to attend. You can see the link there, maricopasbdc.com/events, and you can sign up for all those. They are no cost. Again, we had mentioned our no fee counseling. This kind of shows you how it goes. If you go to that link there, you can request counseling. We'll set up an initial session with you, follow-on sessions, and tracking your business goals. We have a wide variety of experts on our team, depending on what you're needing for your business. And then just more about Maricopa SBDC. We are a resource for COVID-19 things that come up. Everything's changing rapidly, new PPP rules and all of that. We can definitely help you navigate that kind of confusing situation. Like I mentioned, our training event calendar, counselor biographies are all available on our homepage at maricopa-sbdc.com. Thank you so much for joining us today. At the end of the program, you will get a evaluation. We ask that you please do fill it out. And if you have anything you'd like to see as an upcoming topic, please let us know. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day.
Thank you.